Hello, everybody. In today's session, I want to talk about soulmates. Usually, we have this romantic, wonderful view of soulmates, and it is perpetuated in our society. We'll meet your soulmate, and everything will be great and wonderful. And that can actually be a reality. Usually, our soulmates are people we've met before in other lives. We've already had lives with them, and often I feel romantic lives with them. Could have had children together and had happy lives as well, and been in different parts of the world. Soulmates is a term that I use quite loosely now because my experience of soulmates isn't as glossy as our society talks about. I believe that we do have soulmates, and we have several to choose from in some lives, not so much in others. We might just choose to come back and be with one person exclusively this life. There are several reasons we have the soulmate life. One is purely because we have been together before, we really love each other, and we want to be together this life, and it will be a harmonious relationship. We'll probably stay with that person for a long time. We'll have children perhaps or not, and we'll feel a comfort with them. The first time we meet them, we'll probably feel quite comfortable with them, feel like we've known them, and the relationship takes off quite easily. Everything is easy with that soulmate life. It's a good life. It has a lot of background because we were together before, so we understand each other's differences and little strange ways, and we're very patient with one another and tolerant. These lives could have been also lives we had with them as brothers or sisters, mothers or fathers. So it wasn't just one definitive life, and then we could have had several romantic lives. I've read for people and seen the person they're with now and the past lives they had together and where they were on an island in just working in a fishing village with lots of children and being very happy, or in Rome, all dressed up in their tunics in the olden days, and he was a politician and she was the wife. I've also seen soul mates who have come together and then had to split because they have a shorter life. So in some past lives, they didn't get the extension of the whole life. For example, perhaps the person went early or was taken or passed, and so there was an agreement that we'll come back and we'll pick up those extra 10 or 12 years we didn't get. So that can happen as well. The next soul mate life is one where there's usually a mission or service work. There's also some karma to be paid back. In that one, we will meet, we'll fall in love, it will be very wonderful. But the underpinning of that life will also be that it's to help with some service life. So perhaps one person is studying to do medicine, or is in some area in art where they need a backup support person financially, emotionally, and that soulmate life you will be there to enable them. You might work together as well in a charity or foundation or start a project together. And so you have two levels. You have the soulmate level where you have a lovely romantic relationship, but then you also have the one where you help and enable and facilitate something. And maybe that life is also a very important life, because when you do that life, you're doing it on both levels, and it's often service work to the world. It can also be karmic, that we have a soulmate life where we pay back to our soulmate who in a past life perhaps saved our life or defended us or did something good for us, and now in this life we will come back together, be soulmates, and do it again. The other one is what I think a lot of people have, and this is the one that makes them a little bit upset with the soulmate idea. They will meet, so you meet, it's all very wonderful. It usually happens very quickly, this one, because spirit, and you've already decided this in the Garden of Remembrance, but you have to get in quite quickly and concrete in that relationship, because they're going to be a rocky road ahead with this person and you. You fall in love, it's very quick, you get that attachment very, very fast. Within a very short amount of time, you are either engaged or you're married or you're living together, and you've got into that relationship and you're very immersed in it. The feelings are very strong. Of course, with the other ones, they are strong too, but we need to propel you into this relationship, because this is the one where you're going to sort out a lot of things. So this soulmate one is the one which is the most challenging. You would probably have had a lot of lives with this person already, and many of them would have been very loving and wonderful lives. You're very happy together. So when you meet them again, that is the life that you will remember, that you will activate. You will remember, for example, with me, when I met my husband, it was very quick, and we were together very fast, married within, I think, 6 months. And my past lives with him were, for example, in the islands. We were together, we were in a canoe, we were having a wonderful time, we were very much in love. And many of the other lives were very love lives. However, within that, there was a power imbalance in our relationship. And I wasn't to see that at the beginning because that was my lesson to learn. And in some ways, it was his lesson too. We can have some big lesson that we're going to do with that person. We also had the sacred contract, the two of us, because we had decided we would actually do this work together. And he was very good. He supported what we were doing and drove me around to do healings and readings on people. And he helped me do my first set of books, sat on the computer together, and he enabled the work to happen, was part of it. And the other aspect was our power, because I came from love and he tended to come from love and power, and that was his lesson, to learn to come from love. So we actually had some really big lessons within the soulmate. This is not to say there wasn't a great deal of love, or there won't be a great deal of love in these relationships, but they will not be as smooth because you're doing some big lessons. Your soulmate is there to press all your buttons, to help you change some of the things, to help you work out some of your issues. They are a reflection of you, in a sense, that these are things that you need to work on, and they will bring those things up for you in a relationship. And whether you do or don't has a lot to do with how it impacts upon the soulmate relationship. All of these relationships, people usually love each other very much. Unfortunately, one partner might love unconditionally and the other one loves conditionally, and that will become problematic in the relationship as the months and years pass, because you're coming from a different dynamic. There will be many issues that come up, and there will be sometimes more fighting and arguing and more confrontation than you would expect in a soulmate relationship. People are quite clever how they get us in the relationship, quite ensconced in the relationship, madly in love, and then the work really begins. So even though in our society soulmates are seen as just this twirly-whirly, wonderful little life that you have together and everything goes well, I just wanted to do this podcast because in my observation and in my readings, some of these soulmate ones are very hard. I've read people who've had huge power struggles within their relationships and can't understand why they like Bob, but, they're both driving each other crazy. And that's because they're doing these lessons within the soulmate dynamic. And some of these lessons are very hard lessons. They're big lessons. Getting to someone who's a control freak to give up power and control and come from love, and for them to learn how to do that, that's a massive shift in people. And if you've had this soulmate relation go on many, many times, that dynamic would have been there so many times that it's now almost entrenched in the relationship. And also for the other person not to be a victim to this, to say no to it, that also wouldn't have been something that we would have done in many lives. Now when you look at the love of your life, and I think these people end up being the love of our life, and we can have several of them within one life. The heart is expansive and they've just got their, I always see it like you've got your heart and then they've got a little section that's got their name on it. I always think that way, that you never ever have to think you can't love another person because you have loved someone else. The heart is big. But once you see this now, you will understand why you may be struggling in what you termed at the beginning your soulmate relationship. And I advise you not to just give up on it, particularly if there's a lot of love there. If you love that person and trust that person, you don't always get that. And I think you should start to look at your soulmate relationship in a more practical way, perhaps, and see what your one is and what you are meant to do in this and what your lessons are, because that person's coming to teach you the lesson too, as much as you are to teach them. And this is where it doesn't sometimes work, because you would have both decided to come down and, like, this time, yes, I'm going to deal with that, and the other person's like, yes, I'm going to deal with this. You get down here, you've forgotten all that, and you come down here. You might find one person is very keen to do the lesson, to fix it, to resolve it, and the other person won't do it. You'll get so far in the lesson, maybe you're up to there's 10 steps and you're up to 8. You might be willing to go to 9, 10, particularly in those lessons of forgiveness, when the person has either betrayed you or you've lost trust and you're ready to forgive, but the person wants to be forgiven, but they want to keep doing it or something. So then you have the other partner who doesn't want to do that section, and that's where it breaks down. So if you've had a soulmate relationship or are in one, you don't have to stay in it forever. The trouble you'll have is they will be the love of your life. If you break up, then you will always have love for them, and you don't get the lessons, or the mission isn't accomplished. Like in my case, my husband died, so we couldn't do the mission anymore. He was supposed to stay for quite a long time, but we couldn't do the mission. He left earlier for his own reasons. So the purpose of the relationship got stalled. So now I have to find new ways to do the work. You will always be given help, and there is a person right now who's helping me quite a lot. But having said that, you'll find that you've got to understand the soulmate is still a choice. And if the person doesn't want to do the lesson, goes, or can't do the lesson, or can't fulfill the service work, it's okay to leave. That's what I'm probably trying to say to you. You're not bound by it forever, to be in it forever. Often I've found if that relationship ends, then very soon another soulmate will come in. So it's not like you have to wait until the next life. Sometimes in this actual life, another person who've been with before will be presented, which is, I think, quite joyful and hopeful for people. I found it interesting. I was actually awake at night thinking about the soulmates. So I nearly got up and did a podcast in the middle of the night, but I thought that was a bit dumb, because I was hoping to hang on to all the information I was being downloaded. Enjoy your life if you've met your soulmate, but don't think it's not going to be without challenge, because it will. And they will be much more challenging relationships. One, because you love that person so much, but two, because the lesson will be quite big. And as you progress in your past lives and go from one life to the other, I feel the lessons actually get more difficult perhaps, and more layered. So you have to be aware of that. I'm hoping you have found your soulmate, and if you're one of the people who haven't quite found them, better ask Spirit to bring them in, because they are always there. And unless we've chosen to have a solitary life, we can ask for that. And even if you've chosen to have a solitary life and you've got down here and changed your mind, and actually like to be in a relationship, just ask Spirit. So I'm hoping that for you, that you pray for that and ask for that. And I'm sending you lots of love and lots of light.